Alrighty, guys, we are back again. Going to talk with you just a few moments. Now, as we look at the world, has the world gotten a lot worse lately? Have you noticed that? I was just thinking about it when my family was growing up, my mother, father, grandmother. Seems like a lot more people went to church. Seems like the world was a better place, doesn't it? you know, Even though when my father and mother were growing up, they had a harder life, but it seems like because, everybody went to church, everybody just did better. Spiritually, everybody felt better. If you feel better spiritually, if you feel, more with God, it don't matter if you're homeless, poor, rich, or whatever. You're going to just feel better. And I think when we see what's happened to the world now, and you know what I'm talking about, everything out here, genders and all this other stuff, we've got all this stuff going on. I look at it as people have forgotten God. So I just did a little bit of research and I was looking it up here about church attendance has fallen, especially during the COVID thing. Not just that, but it's fallen before that. But it seems like that really did finish off a lot of churches, hurt a lot of churches. And I know people will say, oh, well, I watch online or something like that. Trust me, going to church, to an actual church with people there that believe is a whole lot better than watching it on TV. Just like when you watch a concert on TV, it's good. But when you go to the concert, it's a lot better, isn't it? You really feel the experience. And the Bible talks about that. But what I was going to say today, people, let's see. Church has fallen. Let's see. How bad has church fallen? Let me look here and see. The decline in church, it's not just from, the virus that went around. It's not just from that. This has been going on longer. Okay, in 2019, 34% of Americans attended a religious service at least once a month. That fell to 31% in 2020, and now it's 28% in 2021. And I was looking back, people. I think it said, like in the early 1900s, at one time, 70% of Americans went to church. At one time, it was like 70%. So that's something that, think about. As less people have went to church, basically what I'm trying to say, as less people have gone to church over the years, we have seen the country, the United States, and the world become a lot worse place. We've got people worried about stuff they should not be worried about. Just imagine one time, like in the early 1900s, we had 70% of people going to church. Just think about that. Think about that. Now there might be, in total, less than 30% go to church on Sundays. Think about that. I mean, it's crazy when you really think about it. But, I was looking at Psalms 9, chapter 9, verse 17. It said, the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. And that's what's happened. Not just to the United States. It's happened to the world. Psalms 9:17. That one verse, it sums up everything to me. And there's a lot of other verses out there to look at that shows about what happens when a country forgets, when a world forgets God. And it's really sad when you think about it. As somebody that I've been going to church now a little over 3 years, close to 3 years, I think it is. It's close to 3 years. But look how the world's changed in the last 5 years for you. And I'm not talking about financially and all this stuff. I'm talking about that could be a problem too, but I'm talking about look at how people have changed. You know, the world's just become a lot worse place, and it's because we have forgotten something as simple as worshiping God. And it all comes down to we've just forgotten. People have gotten away from church. They don't go anymore. And it's slowly, it's like the devil is he's slowly winning. Everything is slowly falling apart. Just imagine, I'd hate to see what the world's going to look like in 5 more years if it's still here. It would just be something to see look how bad it's fallen now with all these lost people doing stuff they don't even makes any sense. This is something that you would look at 10 years ago and been like, that's not possible. There's no way all this stuff can happen. And look at it. Look at us, people. Look at what we've become. Look at what we've become. And you've got people out there, like, they don't think nothing of it. They've totally forgotten. And that's the point. They've totally forgotten. At one time you had people that just didn't believe. You had people that would believe in God, but they didn't go to church. You had that happen. You had a lot of that back in the, I would say, 80s and 90s, and all through history you've had that. But you've had people that, I believe in God, I just don't go to church, but they believe in God. Now it's where that's not real. It's become like it's not real. It's not real. And I think that's the biggest problem with the how things have changed with that. And I was just thinking about that, and I was like, it's true. It's true. People have just forgotten about it. And I'm gonna leave it to this. Let's look at it from this point of view. Even when you have people that don't go to church, back when I didn't go to church, somebody would get sick. Well, and you would go to my local hospital down here in Pineville, and it had a place where you could pray. And when somebody was sick or dying, you could go there and pray for them. And every time you get sick or something happens where you're, real bad shape, what happens most of the time? Your instinct is natural. You're like, help me, God. Pray for me. Help me get through this. And a lot of times that's the only time you ever call upon God. You call upon God, you either get better or you die, and then you just forget about it. You're like, you get better and you're like, oh, I got better. And then when you start feeling good, you're like, well, whatever, I got better. Not even realizing that you prayed to God for help. You're not sure that God helped me or not. But you're like, I just feel better, so it don't matter now. I'm just going to go back doing what I was doing before. And you've got a lot of stuff, like a lot of that going on. Or you have people that'll pray to God, oh, well, my mother died, God's not real. You'll have that. We're all going to die. I'm sorry, I hate to tell you that. Prayer's not going to save you from dying, but it saves your soul from going to hell. And that's one thing people have mixed up also, is they act like, well, you took my mother away from me, God. She's in heaven. Or hell. Hopefully she's in heaven, but, he took her away to a better place, hopefully. A place where no pain, no sickness. So, it's tough. People's like, oh, it's tough to be a Christian and all this. Just go to church. Give it a shot. I was as skeptical as anybody there was out there before I started going. I believed in God, unlike people out here now that don't, but I believed, but I was like, I was one of those people like, I don't have time to do it. I don't have time to do it. I just ain't got it. But you have time to watch the ball game. You have time to play the video game. You have time just to watch movies, go out and eat, and all this stuff. And I always tell people this, is what I tell people now. I've believed this for a long time. I believe one of the best things that would help this country out is that if every Sunday was treated like Easter. Every Sunday is like Easter. Treat it like Easter. It's a holiday. I think if the government would do that, which they won't, of course, they won't do that because it's too good of an idea. But just imagine if every Sunday, we'll talk about that later, but just imagine if every Sunday, well, we might talk about it later, but just imagine if every Sunday was Easter Sunday. Everybody had off from work and everybody was encouraged. Not forced, but you was like, you need to go to church. Today's Sunday. Celebrate the Lord. You know, treat it like a celebration every Sunday. And that's one of the biggest problems out there. We celebrate Easter once a year. I know Easter, we all know what Easter is, but we should celebrate every Sunday. Every Sunday should be treated like a holiday. And the way I put it also is people complain, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. The way I see it is if you cannot spend 2 hours a week out of all the time you have, it's just 2 hours. Most churches are 2 hours or less on a Sunday. That's all it is. And they have church during the week too. On Wednesdays, a lot of churches, you can find a church somewhere that has church on one of the nights you're not working. Or if you're retired, you have no excuse not to go, of course. But we've got churches around here that have churches on Wednesday night. They have it on Friday night. They have it on Sunday morning, Sunday night. There's churches to go to. And I just ain't got time to do it. How long do we spend on our phones every day? How many hours? Be serious about it. Be serious about it. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with yourself. We all have time to do it. As the churches continue to crumble like they have been, attendance is crumbling and all that, as that continues to happen, you will see the country get worse and worse. And it's been proven throughout history. Every decade, every 20 years or every 10 years, however you want to look at it, the people have become less religious and the people do worse things. You just see it. I believe the government, is a big part of that. That is, if they believed in God and pushed it like they push everything else, this would be a lot better world. Be a lot better United States, at least. Be a lot better. But they don't push it. We don't treat Sundays like we should. We don't treat every day like we should, like a gift. We're just a bunch of spoiled children. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of that too. Because I was like that for 30-some years, 40 years. I was like, well, I don't need church. I don't need that. I'm not a bad person. I'm going to go to heaven. I was like that. And it don't work that way. I thought it worked that way, but it doesn't. But anyway, people, that's long enough for this video. But think about it. 10 years ago, more people went to church and the world was in a better shape. Even though it was in a bad shape, it was in a better shape. Now we have less people going to church and it's getting worse. To me, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's like I said, my parents didn't have nothing growing up. Have nothing. Grandparents. But the world was a better place. Better spiritually. Everything we take, for example, the internet can be used for good stuff. There's good things on there. We can go search anything on there, but we decide to search everything up but the Bible. Look at stuff, it's just how the world is. You can download the Bible and listen to it every morning on your drive to work. You can have church right in your car. Have it right in your car every morning. I got an hour to drive to work. I think I'll just listen to some rock and roll music or audio book or just some sports stuff on there. What do I need to listen to the Bible for? Why? I don't need that. I'm not interested in it. It'll sit there and it'll read the Bible to you while you're driving. It's not that hard. Let me see if I can even do it. I can do it just like this. I type in Bible, King James Version. I'm going to it right now. Look at that. It's a miracle. go to the Bible. Let's go to 1 Timothy. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 1. And here we go.
Paul's first letter to Timothy.
Look at that.
1. Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ, by the commandment of God our Savior.
All there is to
Lord
it, people.
Jesus Christ, which is our hope.
Look at that. Anyway, that's enough of that, people. You get what I'm saying. As we get further and further away, which we will, I'm guilty of it as anybody else at one time. We'll just keep getting worse and worse, the world will. And as we see that, and as bad as it is now, it can get a lot worse. I know, because it has been. But anyway, people, that's pretty much it. That's all I got to say about it. You can use the internet. It's got so much information about the Bible. You can watch YouTube videos all day about the Bible, music. There's Christian music everywhere. I thought Christian music was a joke. I was like, I don't like that crap. What is that? Then I started listening to it, and I was like, you know what? This is good stuff. All the songs have meanings for the most part, and it's uplifting. It's good stuff. But anyway, guys, that's enough. I don't want to preach all day. Try to keep these under 20 minutes, But anyway, if you want me to keep making these videos, as always, let me know. I've got a lot of videos I would like to talk about. A lot of stuff I like to talk about, So I got a pretty good size audience out here to, somewhat. So maybe I can help somebody. And it also helps me to talk about it. It really does. So anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great day now. Toodles.